Good evening and Happy New Year. I'm Jeff Oxendine. I'm the founder and CEO of My Health Career Navigator. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our first webinar of the new year, which is focusing on setting yourself up for success in 2019 and beyond. It's a great time to be having this webinar as a way to assist you to be able to take an assessment of where you are right now, to take a look at where you want to go in your future direction, and then what you want to do in 2019 to help get you in the direction that you want to go and to have a more happy and successful 2019. Always a good time to do that at the beginning of the year, not to make New Year's resolutions, which are hard to keep, but instead to do some solid action planning and to lay out some steps and to develop some habits and to be able to make good progress. Not only, this is something that people do at all various stages of their career. It's something that I do on a regular basis, is use this moment in time early in the new year to take a stock of where I am and where I want to go and develop a plan for going forward. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to share some slides with you, some thoughts with you about how to best go about doing this. Along the way, you feel free to send some questions in through the chat box or through the question box, and we'll have plenty of time to discuss your specific questions at the end of the formal part of the presentation. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my webcam and go right into the slides. Next slide, please. So the overview today for this webinar is, this is all going to be about you. And as you go through this, it would be good for you to, there are several points where I'm asking some particular questions. It would be good for you to go ahead and maybe write down your answers to the questions or give some thought to it and do some work after the webinar. This will have the best impact if it's something that you follow up on afterwards and apply the things we're talking about and actually make an action plan for yourself and a timeline and a way you're going to review it and a way who's going to help you. So as part of this, we're going to help do some mapping out of next steps and an action plan, and then talk about how you can keep this in front of you once you lay out your action plans, and what kind of support you can get and what kind of accountability that you need for yourself in order to be successful. Next slide, please. So first of all, and some of you who've been through Health Career Connection or in My Health Career Navigator before know that my approach to thinking about what you want to do going forward to be successful includes, first of all, thinking about what you want to do for your life first. A lot of people start with their education or their career, but we want you to have a successful, happy, fulfilling life. And so thinking about what you want for your life first, and then how your career can be a means to help you achieve the life that you want and can be integrated with your life. And then how your education is a means to help you achieve your career and your life goals. And education is a really important goal in itself, so not to minimize that, and particularly if you're still getting your undergraduate or other types of education, graduate education is really important. But the idea here is for you to proactively be thinking about that you're the CEO, you're the CEO of your life. You get to choose the life that you want within the circumstances that you're given. And so why not use that opportunity to really say, this is what I want to get out of my life. This is the career that's going to help fit with that. Here's the education I need to do it. It's hard if your career and education are incongruent with the life direction that you want to go. So you'll hear a lot from our webinar today about alignment. So I'm going to encourage you to try to do your best to align your life dreams and ambitions and goals with your career and with your education plans. Next slide, please. So one of the things that is a core part of My Health Career Navigator, we'll touch on it briefly here, is for you to really, when you're thinking about your life and your career, we want you to think about your authentic life and health career path. And authentic is an important word. There's only one of you in the universe, and you have a unique set of talents, passions, and goals, and you've come from a unique background of circumstances, and you have certain preferences that you want. There's certain difference and impact that you're meant to have here. And so I am always encouraging you to aspire to be able to discover and achieve your authentic health career path. That's the one that best suits your unique talents, passion, goals, and your from where you come from. And it's not about what your family or what your friends or what society says that you should do. This is about you being uniquely you and being successful. And so CEO of your life, being able to navigate towards your authentic health career and be confident that you can achieve it is the mindset that we want you to have going into 2019 and beyond. Next slide, please. One way to do this is to find the alignment. I mentioned the alignment's important between what health employers, the health industry needs and is looking for, what kind of opportunities are out there, and how that aligns with your unique passions, values, and goals, and what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. And so if you could find the alignment between those things, that's why it's in a triangle form, then you're able to achieve the things in the middle of the triangle there, which are all about having purposeful, meaningful work and having the type of rewards and satisfaction, health and happiness that you're able to achieve by finding the alignment of these different things. This is something that I've used with thousands of students and for myself for the last almost 40 years being in health, in the health field and navigating my life choices and being able to say, what does the world need and what are people willing to pay for? And one of my good friends talks about being on trend, and that if you can find out what are the key trends for now and in the future, and how can you be on trend as long as that aligns with who you really are, which is the bottom of the triangle. Now you can be somebody who creates your own trends, who's a trend breaker or a breakthrough kind of a person too. So you don't just have to look at trends, but you have to look at your vision of where you think the world is going and what's needed, and then what the work that you can do and your life can align with that. Now this is something that's not easy to do. Sometimes we're just at the surviving stage. Many of you are just getting through. You survived the holidays with your whatever situations you were in, or you're getting back into school, survived finals. Sometimes we're dealing with illnesses or financial challenges. Sometimes we're just trying to survive. Sometimes we're searching. We're kind of beyond surviving, and we're heading into the last semester of our graduate program or our undergraduate program, or we've been out for a little while. We're still trying to figure out what we're trying to do, or we're in a job that we've been in for a while and we know we need to change, but we're not quite sure yet. So that's kind of the searching phase. And then there's the being phase, when kind of all these things come together in alignment for some period of time, which doesn't always last, because the world changes, what you need and want and value changes, even what you're good at and enjoy doing changes. So the purpose of this is to have something to help you assess where you are and where you want to go, and to be able to make choices along the way and action steps along the way to take you towards your authentic health career. This is something that is wherever you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. Whether you are exactly in the being stage and you know what you're supposed to be doing and it's all clicking for you and you're saying, this is awesome, let me see how I can make the most out of 2019 to continue to go in the direction that I'm going, or whether you're sort of in the searching or surviving phase and say, I got to take some steps this year to get going in the direction towards being, which might take some time. Wherever you are, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And take that to heart and know that that's okay, and that the goal for you is to start taking action now in a planned way that we're going to talk about on the webinar to get to where you want to go. The next slide, please. So the first place, and I mentioned at the outset that the beginning of the year is a good time to take an assessment of where you are. And the next two slides, we're going to talk about things that you can assess at this point as the basis for then deciding what your action plan should be for going forward this year and what some of your goals are for this year. And so the first is to think about the alignment triangle that we just showed, and what is health industry and what are health industry and health employer needs out there, and how aligned are you relative to what you're working on? Are you interested in working on something like social determinants of health, which is something that the health industry and that communities really need, or health IT, or genetics and how they're going to impact health, personalized medicine? Is there something that you're working on that you think is well aligned with what the employers and health industry needs going forward? Or are you going to be a certain kind of practitioner, a behavioral health practitioner, or primary care physician, or a surgeon, or somebody who works on helping people that are aging? All of those are big needs, going forward. If those are interests for you, then that's great. Then the second is, how aligned is the work that you're doing or the direction that you're going in through your school aligned with your passion, values, and your goals? And you guess what? You have to do some thinking about what are your passions, what are your values, what are your goals, and becoming clear about those from a life and a career standpoint, and then being able to say, well, where am I now relative to my passions, values, and goals, and where I want to go going forward? And then what are you good at and what do you enjoy? And this also requires some real introspection and some experience and some being honest with yourself about, all right, what are the skills what are the issues that I really want to work on? What kinds of organizations, if I'm really talking about what I'm good at, what would that be? And some of them might be things that are related to a profession. Some of it might be that you're good at things that are not, you might not on first glance say, oh, this is relevant to my profession, but you never know. Being good at music, being good at dance, being good at motivating people to do things can be things that can be combined with some kind of a health career option going forward as part of the path. So the idea here is to figure out, all right, what are you good at and enjoy doing? And I put those two things together because there are things, as one of my friends says, there's things that you can do, and then there's things that you want to do. And so there might be some things that you're good at that you might not enjoy as part of the long path of your career, but it might be something that you can use to make some money in the short term, or to get a first job out of school, that you can do that for a while on your way to doing something that you both are good at and enjoy doing. So anyway, it's powerful if you find the alignment with those things. I would start this year and do a little bit of an assessment, an honest assessment for yourself, probably a strengths-based assessment for yourself, and saying, hey, if I appreciate myself and where I am in the process, but I'm also being really honest, how am I doing relative to finding this alignment between those things? So how am I doing on each one of those items, and how am I doing when I combine them into the alignment of, am I really pursuing my authentic health career? Next slide, please. Another thing that you could do as an assessment at this time of the year is to think about where you are relative to where you want to be. And this is part of being able to set some future goals and action steps around different aspects of your life. Again, we're talking life and career planning, not just career planning, but how these things fit with your career. And so I had some friends that on a regular basis, we would do assessments to say, the different aspects of our life, how are we doing? And we would usually look at our, how we're doing with personal, how we're doing with relationship or family, on the health side, which is really important. And this includes both health and mental health and well-being, and your fitness, which is important for pursuing what you want to do, are important to many people. How you're doing from your education standpoint, from a financial standpoint, could be from a spirituality standpoint. So you could pick which combination of these aspects of your life that you would like, that are important to you, that are most important to you. And you might say, which of these am I doing really well compared to where I would like to be? And which of them do I want to work on? and then to begin to think which are the most important and to prioritize which ones you want to work on. You want to actually set some goals around and set some action in your schedule around for this coming year. And so up to you to decide which of these elements. I would just encourage you, in addition to thinking about the elements of the triangle, to give some thoughts to these different elements or something else that's important to you to help you move forward. But do an assessment of maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I compared to where and where am I going? Because you might be at one place, but you might have this year might be a great pathway to advance in these different areas. And just kind of assess where you are relative to where you want to be, and have that inform some choices that you make about what you want to focus on for this year. Next one, please. So those are some assessments of your current state. A good thing to do then is to look forward and say, well, if this is where I am relative to these things that are important to me, then where do I want to go? And being able to really think about, the North Star in our solar system is meant to be something that we're navigating towards. And so some individuals and some organizations use something called the North Star vision that helps them decide that what am I working towards? Where do I want to be? If I'm sitting back and envisioning the future that I want to have, with the elements that are most important to me from a life, career, and education, what does that look like? And being able to be bold and to be to not hold back and to be authentic and be able to say, where do I want to be? And within kind of what time frame? People like different time frames. Some people like a 10-year vision. Some people like a 5-year vision. Some people like a longer term or shorter term. There's no right or wrong, but pick a vision for your North Star and include both your life and your health career direction with that. And the health career direction is on purpose. I'm using the term health career direction because as we know that if you're going in a certain direction, then it will develop, or you'll figure out that it's not the direction for you and it's okay to change. So it doesn't have to be set in stone unless yours is totally set in stone and you know exactly where you want to go. But do some good concrete thinking about your health career vision and your North Star life and career vision. Thinking about what your time frame is for achieving different milestones along the way. If you want to become a physician, you want to become a health administrator, a public health professional of some kind, you want to go back to school and get your MPH or your doctorate degree, begin to think about, okay, what's the time frame that I have for doing these things? How long do I want to stay in my current job before I change? When might I think about starting a family if things were to work out the way that I wanted them to go? And begin to think about these kinds of things. And then be able to stop and say, all right, well, which specific combination and sequence of these different actions would be helpful for me? And what kind of progress is needed for me to be able to make progress towards where I want to go? Because there's a different, there's only so much you can do, and there's a certain order in which things need to happen. So do I need to get my education first, or do I need to get work experience first? Maybe I need to get some more paid work experience, even though I want to go back to get my MD or my MPH or MBA or something, but I need to get that paid experience first. And so, all right, I'm going to first get my paid experience for 2 or 3 years. I'm going to get it in a certain type of an organization or with a certain type of, or in a certain kind of role. And then I'm going to go to graduate school, and then I'm going to, do X, Y, and Z. So beginning to lay that out the best you can is a helpful thing. What are some of the keystone accomplishments and habits that you have to have along the way is a helpful thing. And keystone means, there's certain things, like there's a book, and I'm blanking on the name, that talks about how there are certain three keystone habits for each thing that you want to change. There may be 3 things that you can do that if you do those things, then it will help you to be able to move forward. And so think about what are the keystone habits or accomplishments that you need in order to move in the direction that you want to go. And then the last one is, so then where do I start? After you think about the future direction that you want to go in and your time frame, and after you've assessed where you are, then you want to say, for 2019, where do I start? Do I need to start on, if I want to go to graduate school, do I need to get a good grade on the MCAT or on the the GRE? I'm not grade a good score, or you know what, I really just need to finish. This is my last semester of school. My focus is going to be finishing school and doing my job search and thinking about what's next. I mean, whatever it is, pick where you want to start and what your priority areas of focus are going to be for this year after you've done a good assessment and a good visioning of where you want to go. Next slide, please. So as you begin to think about where you want to go and where you want to go, and you set some priorities, then it's good to set some specific goals and some intentions. And I'll talk about the difference of those in a minute. And there's research that's been done that if you actually write down your goals, you're 70% more likely to achieve them than if you don't. And if you actually write them down and you tell them to somebody else, particularly somebody who will either be supportive to you or will help you be held accountable for yourself for meeting your goals, then you're more likely, you're 90% more likely to achieve your goals. So first of all, there's a benefit just to setting goals, and then to writing it down, and then to telling other people and putting it out there to the world so that you can help move forward. Different folks use different things to keep them in front of them. It could be that some people I know put them on their screensaver, on their phone, or on their laptop. One of my friends has his goals on his mirror in the bathroom when he goes in every day and or every time he looks in the mirror, he kind of checks on his goals. There are whatever way to keep your goals in front of you. Some people put them on a whiteboard. You use what works for you, but it's good to set them, to write them down, and to keep them in front of you. And then oftentimes using SMART goals and this is something that is specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. Those are usually the good elements of a SMART goal or SMART objective that you can look those up. There are different tools you can use for SMART goal setting that you can look up on the internet or other places. But I encourage you to use those, because the more specific, the more measurable, the more actionable, the more realistic, and the more time bound your goals are, also that increases your likelihood that you're going to be able to achieve them. So something to work towards. I encourage you to think about perhaps 3 to 5 goals that you might have for 2019. Some people might do up to 7 goals, depending on how motivated they are and what all they have on their plate and what works well for them. So I'll encourage you to think about what works well for you. So setting goals is important, and I would take those assessments that we talked about and your vision, and then say, where am I relative to my vision, and what are the goals that I'm going to go ahead and set for this year. Some people would like to set 3-year goals. So another way to look at goals are to set a 3-year goal, which might be more realistic, and then to have maybe objectives for this particular year. So maybe I'm going to go back to get my MBA in 3 years, and so therefore my objectives for this year are to get a job that's going to get me the kind of experience with the right kind of company, and to begin to move forward. And I'm also going to take the GMAT, prepare for the GMAT that I'm going to take in the beginning of next year, and I'm going to find a mentor, and I'm going to go visit the schools. So whatever it is, you can decide if you want to do 1-year goals or 3-year goals with 1-year objectives. Intentions are somewhat different than goals. Intentions are more, a goal is something that you're trying to achieve. Intentions are more the mindset and the behaviors that you're going to bring to pursuing those goals, and a certain openness and a certain intention that you have when you go about pursuing these goals, and about interacting with people or pursuing your life. And so Whereas a goal might be, okay, my goal is going to be, I'm going to get into the MBA program, within 3 years and get a job to do that. Your intention might be more that I'm going to, build relationships with key people and a strong network to help support me to go in that direction. And I'm going to go full in towards being able to really prepare and get into the best MBA program that I can get into. And I'm going to take some risks and be able to maybe go outside my comfort zone with some of the types of jobs I might look at, or the organizations I might look at, or my geography. Or my intention might be to be more open and available to some of the key people in my life and to build deeper connections with them. So anyway, that's the difference between goals and intentions. A few years back, Greg Hicks, one of our contributors to the MyHCN website, wrote a good blog on goals versus intentions. It's probably 3 or 4 years old now, but I encourage you to take a look at it. Making sure that your goals and intentions are aligned with your life career direction that you want to go in. Back to this theme of alignment, making sure that we are aligned. The other thing that I think most people don't do enough of, and I really encourage you to work on it, it's not easy, but to be able to say, how am I going to define success? What does success mean to me? And not just, hey, getting into the MBA program, but maybe success is more, I'm going to have this kind of in my life, this is what success means, or in the next 3 to 5 years, this is what success means in terms of those different elements we had: relationship, financial, educational, health, happiness, those kinds of things. And the more specific you can be about what success means to you, and it might not be what success means to somebody else. Success is can be a very personal thing. And you should, if you have a partner, if you have a partner of some kind, good to define success with your partner as well, and be conscious about it. And then gear your goals and your action steps towards that, what that success is, not just in a general direction, because it really makes a big difference. If success is that I'm happy, that I have a good lifestyle, that I'm supportive of, here to support my family, that's different than, it could be different than, I have the highest possible job that I could attain, given my talents and my expertise and my drive, and make the most amount of money, if that doesn't allow me to have the time to be with my family and have the health that I need and to have the fulfillment that I want in terms of a job. So anyway, that's what I mean by defining success. And then look at all the things that are on your plate and say, okay, what's realistic? And you want to be a stretched person if that's your nature. Some people are not stretched. They're like, let me get the blocking and tackling. Let me get the basic goals here and line them up. And maybe you do 1 or 2 priority things, or maybe you do 3 or 5 or whatever it is. But and be honest with yourself about what can you really do given your capacity and still meet your definition of success. And what's your capacity to change? Because some of these things are going to take you going outside of your comfort zone to be able to change. Next slide, please. Just have a few more slides and then we'll be open to your questions. So once you've laid out where you want to go in terms of your vision, you've done your assessment, you've established some goals and intentions, you've written them down or typed them in, you've shared them with some other people, then you kind of have to say, okay, what are my barriers and enablers? And really look at yourself again from this strengths-based appreciative inquiry type of approach, which is, what are my strengths that I'm building on? And what are the things I have going for me? And then what kind of things can enable me to go in the direction that I want to go? And what resources do I have to be able to advance and succeed? And resources could be financial, it could be a network, it could be opportunities within your company or your community, it could be people to collaborate with, it could be mentors. So, what kind of enablers and resources do you have? A lot of people tend to focus on the third point, which is, oh, here's the barriers. I know what I want to do, but gosh, I can't get a decent enough score on this test. I can't I'm not getting the job that I want to get to. I still don't have the confidence that I need. Whatever it is, too many people, and you have to acknowledge and be real about what your barriers are, but not let that weigh you down and say, well, I have to be stuck, as a result of that. Because if you focus on your strength and soaring with your strengths, there's a book called that. And if you focus on your enablers and resources, there's a lot out there to help you be successful, more than to hold you back. And so that should be an intention, is to have that mindset that you're really going to focus on all the things you can build on. And yes, things like affording school, that might be a barrier, or affording a new place. But if you focus on the alignment of your authentic career and moving forward, you'll find that a lot of times the barriers can be overcome. If you're doing doing things in the right way and the right things, the money will come, that you need. The job will open. The relationships will be there that you need. But anyway, identify these barriers and enablers and these strengths that you have, and then use those to help inform your action plan as well. Next slide, please. This takes belief and courage. There's a lot of natural resistance to change, a lot of natural doubt and fear. I know that I have struggled over the years with the fear of uncertainty or rejection or being wrong or failure, or the fear of embarrassment, or just, there's a natural time, or not believing fully that, there's things I can do, but could I really go for my, this big vision that I have, versus the more safe route that's involved, right? So it's about courage. Courage doesn't mean absence of fear. Courage means feeling the fear, and as there's a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Courage means you may feel the fear if you have it, or you may not, but it's about having the courage, the heart strength in your heart, and the courage, the resolve to move forward, and to take the actions that are needed. And once you get going down the path, the good momentum tends to build. It's getting unstuck that is often, and sometimes it's getting unstuck from the things in our mind that have been holding us back, that are more stories that don't serve us well. Those tend to get in the way, or the fear stories, more than it is actually. If you take action, you begin to have more control, and you begin to have momentum and see successes, and you kind of snowballs from there. There's a concept of risk that I actually think there's risk. I know for a fact that there's risk in not doing what you're supposed to do and what you're capable of as well. A lot of people look at risk of, oh, well, if I take the risk to put myself out there to really go for what I want, which maybe is different than what I've been doing. Maybe I really want to write something. I want to write a book, or I want to do something creative. I want to make a video, or I want to do something that is different than what I've been doing. It's a risk, or I want to put myself out there and go from my traditional job, which I've now done twice in my career, 3 times actually, gone from stable, good income, high status kinds of jobs to taking a risk for uncertainty. There's risk of that, but there's also risk in staying, and in not leaving something that isn't serving you well, or that isn't as fulfilling and purposeful as you might want. So look at risk in different ways, and think about the sources of support that you have access to. Mentors, role models, peer networks, sources like MyHCN and others that you can turn to. There's more out there now than ever about ways that you can, if you choose to go towards your passion and to go towards your dreams and to take steps, that there are more insights, more people, more organizations, incubators, you name it, that are out there looking to support people who are pursuing their true, authentic careers and dreams. So find those sources of support, make sure you're taking full advantage of them, and you're believing what they're telling you, not just the stories in your head of doubt and fear and other things that could hold you back. Next slide, please. So one of my good friends who has been started 3 companies and been very successful, and overcome some major health issues that he thought would undo him. He says, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And this is a great quote that I encourage you to take to heart at the beginning of a new year, to take this kind of mindset and approach to moving forward. Next slide, please. So the last couple of slides here are about some of the practical things. We've been talking about some of the inspiration of how to move forward and how to do some of these things. We're now going to talk about some of the real practical things, which is, okay, now that you've decided what you're going to do, you've set these goals, you've kind of got this belief and this mindset. Now, you know what? To make these things happen actually takes practical things, like some kind of system to organize yourself towards your goals and towards the action steps that you identify that go along with those goals, and some way to keep you on track and prioritization, and doing time, having some strategy for managing your time, and your habits, developing positive habits that are going to take you in the direction that you want to go and towards your goals. These are things that there's a lot out there, especially this time of the year. You'll probably find free webinars, and you'll find courses focusing on time management and productivity and tracking and those things. I encourage you to look at some of those if you haven't already, if you don't already have a good system. Some of you have a good system already, so this is just plugging some of the things that you already know what to do into your system. It could be using Outlook and Outlook tasks. It could be using something like Trello, or something that you might already have for your with your company, and applying project management tools and time management tools to meeting your goals, to laying what are the steps I'm going to take, how am I going to get there. And we'll talk a little bit more about this. Having focus is important. I'm somebody who has had various times in my life when I've been extremely focused towards my goals and channeling my energy in that direction, and my belief and my courage and my contacts and resolve and totally going for it. And then I've been times when my focus has been spread into different kinds of areas, and so it's helpful to be focused if you really can, and to use that snowball effect that I talked about earlier. This next one is really important. Trying to have a schedule that matches your priorities. Trying to be able to say, okay, if my priority is to write my graduate school application, then I've got to make enough time in my schedule to do that right, or to look for that job at the end of this semester when I'm graduating. I know, I've got to do my academic coursework, but you know what? You've got to have Career 101 be part of your Finding a Job Search 101, also be part of your schedule. And you've got to allocate enough time per week to help you make sure that you're spending some time each week being able to go towards that job or that graduate school preparation, or building that network, doing those informational interviews. If you don't build it into your schedule and build some positive rituals into that, including things like exercise and meditation and meeting with mentors and things like that, it's going to be harder to be able to do it, because all of us have more time demands than ever. And it's easy to get busy and have a few months go by when you didn't really take that action. I'm going to get to it, but building it into your schedule now and making sure that the amount of time on your schedule is allocated accordingly to the things that you need to move forward, and also the time when you do them. Scheduling working on things when it's your peak energy. If you're a late night person, you know what? Maybe you're going to get some things done, or work with your family, or come home from your job, and then you're going to have your late night, do some of this future visioning. Someone like me, I'm more of an early morning person. So for me, I need to set aside time in some of the early mornings to do some of this visioning and writing down goals and action steps, and working on writing the book that I'm writing, those kinds of things. So put your time in your schedule to work on your priorities when it works with your energy as well. And energy management means making sure you have good mental, physical, spiritual, emotional energy in order to be able to take you, and working specifically on that energy management, as building that into your schedule too, making sure you have the time to have the energy. It's not just managing your time, it's managing your energy as well. Next slide, please. So then we get to also some of the real nuts and bolts here is, for each one of the goals that you set, you need to have some very specific action steps that you're going to take over this year in order to be able to get there, and a time assigned to each one of those. So if you want to get a job by the time graduation ends in May, you want to work backwards and say, okay, it's January the 14th. I'd like to have a job by May the 15th. So that means I need to be doing a job search with these companies by February the 15th. I want to be interviewing by early March. I want to have my first offer by April the 1st, but still have time to get some other offers. And I want to sort of close the deal by May the 1st so that I can rest assured as I walk across the stage that I have the job that I'm looking for, or at least some good leads to get there. So have a timeline. Identify who's responsible. There's most of the things you're going to be responsible, but identify who else is going to help you to move this forward. What are some milestones? Milestone is something that is on your way to getting to where you want to go. It's things like getting a good grade on the MCAT. I'm sorry, good score on the MCAT. It's getting your application submitted. It's getting the letters of recommendations done. It's, whatever it is. So set some milestones for you to be able to celebrate along the way and to see the momentum that you're getting. Or the milestone might be, if I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to say I'm going to lose 5 pounds by April the 1st or something like that, and then celebrate those milestones when you get there, and use that as a way to reinforce that you're going in another direction. Have some way of keeping track. I like colors. Green means I'm on track to meet my goals. Red means I'm behind. Yellow means I've got to really be cautious because I'm getting into the danger of maybe not going where I want to go. So I would consider so basically this is like a project management way of saying, laying out my steps, my timeline, my responsibility and my status, and then being able to say, what does success mean? Next slide. And these are the last two slides. Then having some regular time to review your progress. And I would encourage this to be individual as well as with other people. So individual would be that perhaps once a week you review where are you relative to your goals and your action steps. Or some people do it once a day. Some people do it once a month. Whatever works for you. Some people do it once a quarter. Depending on your situation, pick a regular time, and maybe sometimes it's a combination. You might want to say for your overall monitoring your goals for the year and your big action steps, that's something you're going to do on a monthly or quarterly basis, but you're going to have a weekly action plan that you're going to review on a weekly basis. Whatever it is, do something that works for you. I have some friends that on a quarterly basis, they review each other's. They all agree to set goals together, and then they have a quarterly call with each other where they get together and they say, okay, how am I doing? And everybody goes through each one of their goals and people give them feedback. It's a way to get some feedback and support. It's also a way to have accountability for yourself, because it's easy to get busy and to have the demands of daily life get in the way, and school life and family life and all those things of making progress. Have some way of making adjustments along the way. If things change, that's okay. You're going in a direction. Reward yourself. Have some way to say, what, when I achieve these different things, I'm going to have some kind of a small reward. It might be I'm going to get to go do something fun with my friends. I'm going to go get to do something nice for myself. I'm going to get to, or maybe it's whatever works for you. Set up some kind of a reward so that there's in addition to the grind of how am I going to get to where I want to be, that you have some small rewards to reinforce your good habits and progress along the way. Make sure that you hold yourself accountable. Have some mechanism for holding yourself accountable. And accountable means, am I doing what I said I was going to do? And have other people help you, like mentors, like close friends who care about your success. They're not going to hold you accountable to be mean to you. They're going to hold you accountable because they care about you and you've asked them to help you hold them accountable. I have a good friend that has laid out some big ambitions for me this year. And I said, do you want me to hold you accountable? Yes, you have the permission to hold me accountable. So I'm going to be sending him messages saying, hey, have you done your online course yet? Have you set up that trip that you want to go on, that retreat that you want to go to? So I'm going to be helping hold him accountable. And then make sure that you find time to get the support that you need and to celebrate your successes. Next slide. So this is the last slide, which is goes back to having the belief and courage, and also to have the intention. I encourage you to have the intention that this is a great quote, which is, if one advances confidently in the direction of his or her dreams and endeavors, you'll live the life to live the life imagined, you'll be really successful. And this is something that I want you to really internalize this and to really act from this place, which is, even though I might be risky, I might have fears or doubts or whatever it is, or I might be really confident. Wherever you are is where you're supposed to be. If you advance confidently in the direction of your dreams, and you do the confident, but you also do these practical action things that we talked about: setting goals, having a system for keeping the goals in front of you, holding yourself accountable, celebrating successes, all those kind of things. That if you do these things, then you're going to be more likely to be successful. And hopefully today was helpful for you in being able to get some insights and some practical tips on how to move forward and to have a great 2019, as well as success beyond. So with that, those are the end of our formal remarks, and I will open it up for your questions or comments.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jeff. That was really informative, especially for me, as I definitely see the advantages of setting goals, in my own process of applying to medical school, and, from being kind of, insecure about the whole thing to now doing my first interview. Definitely, setting your goal, it kind of does the work for you in a way.
Yeah, so. And in staying focused, it helps you stay on track and stay focused and make progress, right? And celebrate progress, right. Like a milestone is having your first interview.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, by the way. I know that was a goal that you've been working towards for a long time.
Yeah, so, it was. So yeah, it's great to
example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what questions do people have, and comments? And it could be also what works for you. If this wasn't as there's something else that works for you that we didn't share, also good for you to share it as well.
Yeah, I think for me, I'll share my bit. Denise has a question. She writes, I understand you state to gain confidence. How do you build on this? What are some steps you recommend for this, for building confidence?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I'll make some suggestions. The first, I think, is to have, if you're doing the assessment that we talked about who you really are and what you really want, and you've been and comparing kind of, all right, well, where are you relative to where you want to be, and if you're really honest that, you know what, this is authentically who I am, this is authentically what I really want, and taking a strengths-based approach to looking at it, saying these are the strengths that I'm bringing, and these are the successes that I'm building on. All of you have successes that you're building on. All of you have experiences in your life already where you have exhibited confidence, and and also that should provide you with confidence because of who you are and where you've come from and what you've been able to do. I think it's really trying to have the mindset that if this is really who I am, then setting the intention that I'm going to have the confidence. I'm just going to act as if, there's a sort of a phrase, I'm going to act as if that what I want and is going to be possible. And I'm going to start today instead of waiting 10 years from now till I get to that point. I'm going to start now acting as if what I want and who I am is possible, and making choices from a place of confidence, even if you don't fully feel it. And it's not being fake or contrived. It's just kind of, like as I'm saying, if you really are coming from your authentic self and going in your authentic direction, that should provide you with some level of confidence, even though there might be other barriers that get in the way, that it is possible for you. And then what I found is it's by taking steps, it's by hard work and focus, and then taking steps where you get confidence because you have seen that there is value to what you're doing, and that you can You can do it. I learned this actually myself from playing sports, that I would notice along this when I was a kid, that I would see, wow, I think I'm good at baseball, and I'd like to be good at baseball. And, I've got my doubts and all this, but let me practice, let me work hard. And then I would have some successes and I would build on that. And then I applied that same thing to school. And I would go, wow, if I actually try, I'm a little bit daunted by this class, but if I apply myself, if I study, if I try, if I go talk to the professor, if I do these things, wow, I can get a good grade. And then the next class, I can believe that too. And then in my job, with being a health executive, gosh, that was a scary situation I had to try to solve, but I seem to do okay. Maybe the next time I'll approach it with confidence. So I think kind of coming from who you are and having the mindset and acting as if it's going to work out, and then using successes along the way, big and small ones, to reinforce it. Hopefully that's helpful. Janet, anything else you would say about that?
Yeah, I think
Janet Umenta, by the way, who's with MyHCN.
Yeah, thanks. I think for me, like you don't do the world a great service if you play small.
That's
So I
right.
think, I think thinking it that way, thinking of yourself, not necessarily what you're going to get, but what you're going to give, I think that's a good frame of mind too.
That's great. And realizing sometimes when you fall, sometimes if it doesn't work out, you learn a tremendous amount from that too. And that can help you go maybe even farther and faster by having a struggle of some kind, that you might go, oh, and then you might fall down and go, well, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't as bad as I thought. I can get back up again. And now I'm even more strong. I'm stronger and I'm more knowledgeable, and I'm just going to keep going forward. So yeah, but it's being willing to act. I think having a plan with action steps and following them, I think also helps with confidence too.
Right. Yeah. Take it one step at a time, one class or one exam at a time.
Yeah.
So Maribel asks, she writes, thanks for sharing. I thought the tip about having a schedule that matches your priorities was really helpful. I'm graduating soon and I'm applying for jobs this semester. I've always had trouble networking. Do you have any recommendations or best practices when reaching out to professional contacts?
Excellent question. I'm glad the schedule matches your priority was helpful. And one of the examples that I used for that was the scheduling time to do informational interviews. And so an informational interview is the best networking strategy that I know. It's a way, and also just career development network. It's a way, an informational interview means you use the magic words, I'm a student, I'm going to be graduating, and I'd like to do an informational interview with you. You can use it when you're not a student also. An informational interview means that you are telling somebody you want to come and have a 30 to 60 minute meeting with them where you get information from them about their career path and what they do, their journey, who they are, their company, but also you get advice from them about your career direction, and you make a connection there where you could get, maybe they will be willing to assist you to look at opportunities in their company or within their network. And when you're a student, it's a little bit scary to do it sometimes with professionals, and people are busy, and you might have people that don't respond to your email right away, but it does provide you an opportunity to, without going to look for a job, although it is a job search strategy too, you can just go meet with people and in the informational interview, and you can look at the different guides about informational interview questions. You will get good information. I always get information about what career, a gem that helps me with my career direction, and then you make a contact. And then assuming it went well, which most of the time it will, you send that person a LinkedIn request, you follow up with a thank you note and a thank you email, and then you continue. Now that person is part of your network. And so, if you meet with them in February and you say, oh, I'm going to be graduating in May, they might say, hey, why don't you check back with me in April to see, we might be having a job in our company that might be a good fit for you. Why don't you check back? And so you follow up with them. And so I would say building the time for informational interviews, I would do at least one a week if you are On the job search your last semester. You've got to sacrifice a little bit of that academic maybe to or a little of your fun time to make time to go do the informational interviews. The other thing is to go to professional associations, find out if you're interested in a certain professional area, and there's all kinds of, there's public health, there's health executives, there's health education, whatever it is, there's medical student associations. Go to these different association events, professional dinners or networking events, or go to conferences that are being put on. Except in the spring, there's all kinds of different American Medical Student Association conferences, the American College of Health Executives conference in Chicago, like you name it. Try to go to these different conferences to put yourself in the flow of people and opportunities. And then also just talking with professors and other students about what advice they have and who they know, and having them make connections for you. Making time to be on LinkedIn is important. Also, a lot of job search now comes from LinkedIn. So I think building time in your schedule each week in addition to your courses, and treat it like a class. That's why I said call it Career 101 or Job Search 101. Put the same amount of time into that as if you would a class, and make sure that each week you're doing some things that are going to take you towards your networking and your job search. We have webinars on MyHCN, previous webinars on networking, and blogs and things that you can look at that will give you more details on networking.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. I think we're don't see another question coming in. I would say, just from my personal experience, I think changing the story in your head, Jeff, that's what you had in your PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Important thing. I think a lot of times we just say, well, I'm not, I don't do it this way, so that means I can't do it, or I don't look like that, so I can't do this. But I think for me, a big point, like during HCC, like your during my HCC internship, you're just meeting different health professionals, and they're sharing what they've gone through. I think just being very careful. Sometimes we take advice from people who don't really know. I think we should be careful about who we take advice from, and just making sure that we're taking advice from people who've been there and who could be truthful in their story.
Absolutely. And looking at what story, I think a good question to always ask yourself in those moments where you're not feeling as confident, perhaps, or where you've had a setback, is, well, what story am I believing, and is it serving me well? So that way you're naming the story, and all of us have stories that don't serve us well, or maybe it is one that really serves us well. But what story am I believing? And it might be that somebody, told me that, well, because of how I look, or because of where I came from, or because of my grades, or whatever, I can't be what I want to be, whatever it is. Well, okay, well, that's one story. And is believing that story serving me well or not? And if it's not, then you want to end the story the best you can. It's not, maybe it won't happen right away, but you want to replace it, begin to replace it with a story that, I really can have the life and the career that I want, and I really have a lot to offer, and I'm talented, and I'm going to be able to do it. And I'm much more resilient and more capable and talented than other people, than that person who said something might see, or that I give myself credit for. And so being able to ask, what story, is it serving me well? And then if it's not, letting it go and replacing it with another narrative is important. And again, having practical goals. The other thing is if by having goals and action plans and schedules and things, it actually is a way to filter through. You say, well, okay, even though I'm feeling doubtful today, I'm still going to go ahead, and I'm still going to, I made this commitment. I'm going to still go to that informational interview. I'm going to still, apply by this particular date. I'm going to stick to my action steps. I'm going to talk to my mentor. And getting the support along the way is important too. Making sure that you get the support that you need from others who are wise, who do care about you along the way, in addition to doing things on your own. You don't have to do it all yourself in this world. There's so many people that will be willing to help you, but you have to let them, and you have to let them know what you want and how they can help you, and then continue to go forward. So with that, I know that we're out of time. I hope this has been useful to you. if you have further questions, Janet, how would they they can email you, right? If they have additional
Yes.
questions at
Yeah.
what's the email to use?
Yeah, it's Janet. I'll put my email in the.
The
Sorry.
info about it, health careers my health career navigator, that one. You can just share that.
Okay, I'll share that in the follow-up email.
Yeah, and and then look for additional webinars this year in MyHCN. We're going to offer some workshops in person coming up, and also online courses and other kinds of things too. So stay tuned, and thank you for participating, and good luck with a successful 2019. Take care.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.